How breathwork and meditation build resilience. We're going to talk about this in today's episode. Welcome back to the Men's Mental Health podcast. Breathwork and meditation is something that I've increasingly put into my life, and it's really benefited me in terms of building resilience, building a good relationship with myself, more confidence in myself, and improve my overall well-being, my mental health as a man. And that's why I wanted to talk about them today, because sometimes, and I never believe in kind of all the tools out there, the practices, all the thing that there's a one size fits all. I guess when I started personal growth, I used to think like that. I used to be like, right, there's got to be the ideal perfect routine or morning routine or something like this that gets everyone results, but there is not. Like every influencer I've listened to or followed or people I've looked up to is probably a better word than influencer, because sometimes influencers can just be a load of people, a load of followers, and good at making 5-second dancey videos or whatever. But like people I really look up to are role models. They've all got something different. The people who have been my best teachers. So there was not one size fits all. But with breathwork and meditation, I just want to talk about this because maybe you've been considering it and you're like, should I do it? Should I not? Well, for me, they've been really, really powerful. And when I first got into like the personal growth, like the self-development space, I really wanted to work on myself, and having a good mindset is important, right? But then what meditation and breathwork did allowed me to go a bit deeper. They allow me to, and they do contribute to a good mindset, because the body, they work on the body and the deep emotions in you, and therefore you're going to have a better like thought process. Absolutely, they all link. But they allow me to start observing my emotions, start just digesting what was going on in the body a lot more. And as a result, I was able to start seeing like challenging circumstances or challenges that come as like separate from me. Negative potential thoughts that are coming up were like separate from me. They were not me. These sometimes like anger or anxiety that I was experiencing was not me. It was part of me, and therefore not part of me, but it was just something that was going on inside of me just temporarily, and I don't have to own it. I do not have to identify with it. And when I started thinking like that, that really allowed me to have more resilience, because it was not like a victim mentality of like, oh, I'm so anxious all the time, or I'm so down. Now, by the way, I'm not denying that those things are real things. I'm not saying there's, depression's a real thing, anxiety is a real thing. Absolutely, people on medication for certain things. But what I noticed is when I started identifying with things like stress or like feeling defeated or calling myself defeated, that really, blocked me being resilient and bouncing back because of those thoughts and those overwhelming emotions. But with meditation and breath work, it really allowed me to just see that they're just things passing and process what I needed to, identify more what was going on in my body. Identify like, oh, there's some hurt or sadness around the heart, what's going on there, and dive into that, allow it to be released, observe it. And I'll explain the difference between the two as well. So breath work is when you breathe, you do a certain technique, we breathe anyway, but we don't always breathe in a way that serves us. Shallow breathing is when we're stressed, and that comes from stress. But if you can adapt the way you're breathing consciously, that can change the way you're feeling. It can allow you to process emotions. So breathwork is all about connecting deeper with yourself, because the breath is energy, and you can go into the energies of your body and then really connect deeper. Now, meditation is more about observing what's going on in terms of emotions and actually identifying that some of the things that are going on inside you are separate. It's about observing and coming back to a focus point and really getting more connected with you as well. So they do serve a purpose in that way. I believe in a similar way that they allow you to connect with you. And therefore that allows more resilience. And also when I've cleared stuff out through breath work, it's really allowed me to be more resilient because I didn't have like tough emotions going on. So I want to give just some tips to you around if you're like struggling with either these, you're considering getting into these, given what I've gone through. I'm not going to say I'm a breathwork master. I'm a facilitator. I can do sessions with people. And if you want to book in one, I'm advertising that at the moment. and I've got different ways you can work with me. But meditation, I'm certainly not like a monk who's been meditating for years, you know. I've had different practices and things I've tried. I'm just sharing my experience on how these have benefited me, with some steps that you can use to start. So this is what I'm going to suggest. Start with something small. Maybe it's 5 minutes breath work. I used to have a long routine, morning routine, and sometimes, I might bring that back in when it serves me. I like to do like 5 to 10 minutes of breath work, really short, very simple. And then I go on to a kind of visualization technique I'm doing. And then I'll go on to working on the big business needle movers that I need to do. And then I'll do a longer routine later. I'll do things like in the evening, like meditation, mindfulness, all those kind of things, because I allow myself to get the challenges out earlier on and then work on the mindfulness later. So number one is start with something small each day, maybe 5 minutes meditation, 5 minutes breath work. I would recommend doing breath work first because it will calm your body into a calmer state so your brain's not so active. And do them in the morning because your brain is a really good step, because your brain can be more and more active as you go through the day. The second thing I would suggest is doing a longer breathwork session, scheduling that in once a week. Maybe it's a 30 minute to an hour is good. And check people who are really good with that. Do a longer one because that really allows you to go a bit deeper. I would not suggest starting off with an hour a day because that'd be overwhelm, and then you'll eventually get fed up with it after a week or so and you'll be like, this is too much. Whilst if you stick and commit to 5 minutes, that's more likely to do it. And then the final point I'm going to add today, and keep it nice and short today because I really don't want to overcomplicate the subject, is having your own accountability, maybe ticking it off on a wall chart or something so you can see you're doing it. That's going to give you a dopamine hit, which is the feel good. You get those feel good chemicals when you see yourself ticking off a tick on a sheet in terms of a habit. But I'd also log your results. And what I mean by this is you do not get an overnight instant, wow, that was amazing, my life changed from meditation and breath work. No, but the more I do them, the more I get in tune with things that make me feel good, even if they are more challenging to begin with, and then I get used to them, they get more simpler. What I start doing is logging down every day what's showing up in my life. Like, did something spontaneously appear? Did I act more confidently there? Did an opportunity come my way? Because what I've noticed when I've done like breath work, meditation, things that make me feel good, things show up in my life, opportunities show up. Now people think, that's coincidence, that's woo and stuff. But no, if you can get your brain on board with enough evidence that things are showing up, as well as you doing things like breath work and meditation, then it's going to be like, there is something to this thing. So that's what I'd recommend as well. So this has been a very short episode in terms of breath work and meditation to build resilience. So I've given you some tips for getting started. So thank you so much for joining me today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.